Two Nights. Chapter 2. Throb. Friday, September 8th. Jungkook started off his day more displeased than usual. He walked out of the house with furrowed brows and a pout as he held his permission slip for the school trip in one hand and his mother's check in the other. He held back the urge to toss it down a sewer or into a trash can on the way to school.
Maybe I can just fake it and go somewhere for 3 days, but then she'll find out if the school sends those trip photos again like last year.
There really was no way out of this, and it frustrated Jungkook. For once, he could not find an answer, and he always knew the answer. Jungkook entered the school and went to his homeroom. He found every step difficult as he walked up to the teacher's desk, knowing that he'd be sealing his fate once reaches him. With sheer loath and distaste, Jungkook placed the form and check onto the teacher's desk. "This is it,"
I'm glad to see that you're choosing to go.
the teacher said, giving him an approving smile. Jungkook silently walked away and headed to his seat, but as he approached his desk in the back, he found that it was occupied. There sat Taehyung, all smiles and laughter as he waved at him. Jungkook felt like his day was about to get worse.
Good morning, Jungkook.
Taehyung flashed a bright smile. Jungkook stood at the front of his desk, staring down at the older boy who he'd have to be dealing with for now. What a pain this is going to be.
Why are you in my seat?
He asked.
I was just waiting for you.
Taehyung replied and stood up, allowing Jungkook to reclaim his spot. But still, he didn't leave him alone.
So, are you excited about the school trip? I'm looking forward to the amusement park. Did you know that there are over 40 different attractions and rides there? There's even a zoo area with real animals.
He exclaimed. Jungkook looked up at the older boy with a stoic expression.
Well, of course there'd be real animals, it's a zoo.
Taehyung laughed and brushed off the rude comment. Jungkook stared at him. Does this guy ever get offended? He was either really stupid or really forgiving.
Hey, are you looking down on me? I heard that you're a year younger than me. Respect your elders. Call me Hyung.
He childishly demanded. How he got the information about his age in the first place, Jungkook did not know, but he didn't question it. Jungkook raised an eyebrow.
You want me to call you Taehyung?
They both paused and realized that it didn't sound right.
Never mind then. How about I just call you Jungkookie instead? I like the sound of that.
The older decided. Jungkook rolled his eyes.
Do what you want.
He muttered, not up to argue. Taehyung's smile widened, creating a unique box shape. He seemed to be satisfied with his new privilege.
All right, everyone takes your seats. The bell is about to ring.
The teacher announced. Taehyung looked back at Jungkook one more time, before leaving and taking his seat at the other side of the room, grinning like an idiot. A bit later, it was the start of gym class now, and everyone was lined up against the sides of the track, complaining about the heat. Today's activity was racing, and many dreaded it. Usually, everyone would put little to no effort into the competition, but today, it was being taken for a grade, so of course, everyone was on edge due to that. The way the scale worked was that 2 points would be taken off every position below the other. In other words, the first out of the whole class would get a score of 100, second a 98, third a 96, and so on. It wasn't too bad, if you think about it, but if you were to end up last, the point deduction sure did add up.
Alright, stop with the groaning. We're getting started. First up is...
The teacher called out the names of the first victims. 5 in total. It went in alphabetical order, so Jungkook had a good amount of time until his turn. He used this to his advantage by studying the ones who went up before him. He looked at their angles and strides as their aunt to see which would do best. So far, the average time was near 13 seconds, if Jungkook calculated correctly. Finally, after a few rounds, he was up next.
Jean Jungkook.
The teacher called. The next set of students lined up at the starting of the track accordingly, taking their kneeling positions. It was a 100-meter distance that they had to cover. The girls, who were on a whole different field, were now watching from afar, making it more pressuring for the guys. This was how boys always were in high school, with all their hormones and whatnot. It was only natural for the guys to want to impress the girls, thus making this race even more nerve-wracking. All of the boys were definitely going to be trying their hardest now if they hadn't been already.
When I count down from 3, you will start.
The teacher said as he got out a timer.
3.
Jungkook lowered into a running position, his eyes full of determination. He would not lose, but of course, he wasn't doing it for the girls. I'm getting that 100. Grades were the main goal here.
2.
Everyone tensed up. getting ready to take off.
1, go.
The teacher started the timer and everyone pounced, dashing for the finish. But it was over as soon as it started. Though everyone was on par with each other, one of the runners was much faster than the rest. She and Jungkook reached the finish at 10.3 seconds. A new school record. Even the teacher was in shock. The score was only 3 seconds off from the average, but it made a good difference when speed was calculated into the formula. His speed and agility were above average scales, and it was exceptionally more impressive since he was a whole year younger than his peers. The rest of the students crossed the line a bit afterward, but in comparison to Jungkook, it was a wide stretch of a margin. Jungkook walked off the track, barely out of breath as the rest of his classmates watched him in awe. In the distance, the girls were cheering and screaming. Jungkook had just become the new heartthrob of the school. He sat down at the far end under a tree and watched the rest of the class go. The next round in particular caught his eye. One of the 5 runners was Kim Taehyung, and though Jungkook was never particularly interested in people, he was curious to see how his partner would do. His form isn't that bad, he doesn't look out of shape either.
Go.
The teacher exclaimed and they all ran. It started out fairly good until a shoe suddenly came flying off of someone's Taehyung's foot. The shoe landed in one of the lanes, and unfortunately, the boy running inside it tripped over and fell rather hard. Everyone made an ooh sound as the guy's face planted. In the end, Taehyung's score wasn't too bad, even with only one shoe on. 13.6 seconds. The guy in the unlucky lane, on the other hand, ended up with a whopping 17.4 seconds. At that point, they all knew who was getting that 40%. Even Jungkook had to admit that he pitied the guy. Whoa, Taehyung. What a great strategy. How'd you come up with that? One of the obnoxious guys in their class exclaimed. Taehyung put his hands up in defense.
I swear I didn't do it on purpose. My shoe was untied, and it slipped off by accident.
He tried to explain. And mine will too. Another classmate replied, winking. The next couple of rounds consisted of flying shoes and horrible scores. But in the end, Jungkook did come out as first, receiving a perfect grade, and also praise from the gym teacher. And unknowingly, he had captured the eyes of many girls as well. Lunch break. It was now time for lunch. During this period, some people chose to play basketball on the Quarter Taken app. It was a break after all, you could do anything you wanted, as long as it didn't break school conduct. Jungkook walked down to where the main hall was, and went up to a vending machine. He slid in a few coins, and clicked a button. Jungkook bent down to pick up the drink from the emptying slot, which so happened to be his favorite one, banana milk. He planned to finish his homework during this hour, since he was a star student who always finished his assignments early. As he returned to his class, he saw that there were piles of snacks and pieces of paper on his desk. Did someone leave their stuff here? Jungkook looked down at the heart-shaped notes and school store snacks, before obliviously pushing them all off his desk and onto the floor. Whatever, he thought, and sat down.
Whoa, that's pretty cold-hearted.
Taehyung approached him, picking up one of the boxes off the ground.
If you're not going to eat the things those girls left you, I will.
He said, and ate one of the papero sticks. Though Taehyung already had a good pile of his own on his desk, he'd never pass off more free food. He was already quite a popular guy, and gained his own fan base of girls by the first week of school.
These were for me.
Jungkook asked. Why would someone use their money on me? He thought it was a waste to be doing these kinds of things. Taehyung let out a small laugh.
You're so dense, but I'm surprised you didn't expect this. After what happened in first period, you made quite an impression on everyone, especially the ladies.
He winked. Jungkook didn't think too much of it. Maybe he did catch the eyes of people around him, but who was he to respond to that? It wasn't his problem. He began to do his math homework, solving every problem diligently. Every now and then, he would look up to see if the older boy was still there, and each time, he saw him perched on the desk in front of him. Doesn't he have anything better to do? Jungkook was completely immersed in his own work when he felt a small poke on his lips.
Wanna try the papero challenge?
Taehyung asked as he waved one of the chocolate-covered sticks in front of the younger boy. Jungkook raised his eyebrow.
What's that?
He asked. Taehyung looked at the boy in utter shock. The Papero Challenge was a popular game played by idols and younger people. Everyone in the school knew what it was, and friends would often play it during lunch break for fun. Even guys did it. But of course, Jungkook, an antisocial introvert, had never even heard about it.
You don't know? You're seriously behind on times.
Taehyung chuckled as he held the pepero in between the two of them.
It's a game where you try to create the smallest piece you can by eating it. The best record I've heard of here was about 2 centimeters.
That sounds easy to beat.
Jungkook replied. Taehyung looked at the younger boy in surprise. Easy? He wasn't expecting a boy who hadn't even heard of this challenge till now to call this game easy.
Really? It's actually quite hard.
Taehyung replied. Jungkook, completely confident, took the stick out of the boy's hand and began to eat it. After a few bites, he raised up his palm to reveal a small crumb, definitely less than 2 centimeters. The two of them stared at each other for a second, as Jungkook held the remains proudly between his fingers. All of a sudden, Taehyung burst out laughing, collapsing all over Jungkook's desk. What's so funny? Jungkook didn't understand why he was laughing.
You're supposed to play with 2 people.
He exclaimed, totally amused by Jungkook's wholehearted attempt. Jungkook tilted his head to the side in confusion.
2 people? How are you supposed to play with 2 people?
He asked. Taehyung smirked and pulled out another pepero stick.
I'll show you.
To be continued in Chapter 3.